to run on four legs, But anyway, it didn't get disqualified anyway, which is good. Good news.
which is good. Which
Yeah.
is good.
Well, yeah. Well, if you're just tuning in, you're watching the Alien Spaceship, and this is what we talk about: goats running marathon, running half marathons. Right, over to
We
you, bro.
talk about
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, we talk about a whole range of things, don't we? And we talked, I think, briefly last week about um, human intelligence, such as it is, and human thought.
Yeah,
And I think the question we posed was, is it advantageous to have an outlook of positivity, of optimism, and therefore to have positive thinking in our lives, to be basically someone who thinks positively?
yeah,
Now, I guess most people would say, well, yes, it would seem to make sense to think positively. But well, what is your view on that? Do you think it matters if we sometimes think a bit, we think, well, I think it's probably going to pour in rain today, knowing my luck, which is sort of thing a lot of people, an expression which is not a very good expression, actually. I've never liked that when people say knowing my luck, because if we look at the question of what is luck, I
yeah.
know I'm sort of going off a bit here on a tangent, but
Yeah, no, no. Yeah, go
I
on.
think events are just random events. I mean, that's not a very scientific comment, but we are subject to the randomness of nature around us in things that happen in our lives. Sometimes we can influence what happens and influence others,
Yeah.
but I'm not sure that anybody could legitimately say they are subject to some curse, something that makes them have bad luck in situations, so that they can say, knowing my luck. I guess it's not really any more than just an expression people make. But it comes back to the point: is it something we should avoid trying to think pessimistically if we find ourselves doing that, and trying to operate on a positive basis in our thinking? What is your view? Is it best to think positively?
In my view, I think it helps, it helps to think positively because it gives you a much better outlook to life, to whatever you're doing. I'll just give you a quick example. So, for instance, if you have a project that you need to accomplish, and you don't think that you don't think the success the successful the outcome being successful is bright. Chances are you're going to put in less effort into it. I don't know if that makes sense. um
Yeah.
you, you're going to say, well, what's the point anyway? It's only going to end up this way. This is how it's going to end up. On the
Mm.
other hand, if you do have a positive outlook to it, no matter what happens, you will sort of um, tweak things a bit. You'd say, you know what, I want to say, for instance, you want to get to London. You have to get to London before a certain time or before a certain. Say, for instance, you have to get to. Um, I'm glad we both live out of London. So say, for instance, you have to get to London by the 15th of this month, and you're looking at ways to get to London. So you're looking at the train system, you're looking at driving to London, you're just weighing it up. Now, your purpose is to be in London. You have a your purpose, you're focused on your purpose is to be in London. Now, um, if, for instance, you booked the train and then there was maybe a strike action or whatever, you think, you know what, I still have to get to London. So what you would do is find a different way to get to London. Um, but if you say, well, you know what, I want to go to London, and I'm going to use the train. Now, if anything happens with the train, your your aim is defeated. You think, well, you know what? I was going to go to London on the train, and then there was a strike. So you know what? Maybe it's a sign not to go to London. And so, you know, the condition of your heart, if it's positive, if you're looking at something and thinking, I want a positive outcome from, you know, whatever you're doing or whatever you've put your effort into, you will get a positive outcome. It might not be in the time frame that you want it, because there might be, you know, life happens. You know, you might catch a cold the day before or whatever. And then you could say, well, you know what? I've got a cold today. I'm going to wait 2 more days and try and give it a try again, you know. Whereas somebody with a negative outlook to life would think, you know what? I was going to do that. Then I had a cold, and that was it, you know. So I thought, you know what? It can't be done. So
Mm.
being positive, yeah, being 2 more days and try and give it a try again, you know. Whereas somebody with a negative outlook to life would think, you know what, I was going to do that. Then I had a cold, and that was it. You know, so I thought, you know what, it can't be done. So
Mm.
being positive, yeah, being positive is definitely it counts for a lot. It does count for a lot in life. And whatever you do, you have to be positive. You know, some people, you know, there are people that um think that some things are impossible. And there are people that think it's possible. And for people that think it's impossible, they think that the people that think it's possible are somehow deluded, uh,
Mm.
you know, or don't really, they're not being realistic. But then sometimes they do achieve it, you know,
Mm.
they do go on and achieve it. And then people that don't think it's possible, they think, well, it's luck. Well, it might be, but they did put in a bit of effort. You know how they say you've got to be in it to win it.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
like like in the lottery. If you don't buy the lottery, you never win the lottery. Uh,
No.
it doesn't mean
No.
that if you buy the lottery, you're going to win the lottery. But if you don't buy it, you know, you're not going to win it.
Yeah.
Gambling is not a good example, but anyway, I'm just that's just how I look at life. I look at life like you've got to be positive. You know,
Yeah.
you got to live in hope. Yeah. So yeah.
I think I agree totally with that. And I think another way of expressing what you said, in a sense, is it's a little phrase I've liked for a long time. Those who believe they can and those who believe they can't are both right. And I think that kind of says it, because a can do attitude in life is a positive attitude. Okay, it may not always work out, but I think it is better. I think most people would say, yeah, it's better to say, I'll give it a go. There's a good chance I can achieve this. Perhaps it won't work every time, but yeah, a can-do attitude is good, because again, the way our thinking is often based, and it can be going back years as to how perhaps our upbringing, our environments, and all sorts of things which go into our thinking. But what it seems to me is that if we have a certain viewpoint, a particular position on a given subject, whatever that may be, um, our brain will automatically, in a way, look for events and things which will actually support that view we have. If we have a particular view, I don't know, we don't go into politics here, but on a subject, we don't think something should be done like that, or we think it should, then very often, when the brain almost subconsciously picks up something that endorses, approves of that view we have, it will become almost self-fulfilling. So if we do tend to think a bit negatively about life and events. And let's face it, sometimes it's understandable when we think of the problems in the world at the moment with nations fighting other nations. It's all very frightening as to where that could lead, and it's therefore hard to perhaps adopt a very positive or optimistic way of looking at that. I guess all we can do is hope that common sense, good sense amongst world leaders and so on prevails. But generally, we look for things, I think, that supports any given view we have. So if we do have a positive outlook in life, that things will get better, that things in our lives are pretty good, we're pretty lucky compared to many people in the world, then I think we will find things in our lives and in society, etc., that support and approve of that view. So life generally feels better. So I think that's the way I look at it. That a positive outlook is good. I mean, the next element of this is where do thoughts come from? Now, we talked about the brain being this incredible machine. That's not the right word, is it? But um, as I've said, I think before this, it weighs apparently about 3 pounds. It's this grey matter. We talk about our grey matter, but it is, by all accounts, grey in colour. And think, for example, Einstein's brain is still kept in a jar in a laboratory because they've done a lot of research on that because of his high level of intelligence and forward thinking and so on. So they've learned a lot from people like him, where the body or the brain has been donated for medical research, etc. So it's an incredible thing that they do know an awful lot about nowadays. They know the elements of the brain, the right hemisphere, the left hemisphere.